For the first time since 1991 and 1992, the Wisconsin Badgers will miss a bowl game in back-to-back years. That 1991 and 1992 season were the first 2 years under Barry Alvarez. It's been a while since the Badger football team has been in this spot, and while the score against Indiana did not look great of a 31-7 final score, I think there are some positive things to take away from this game, and I think this game was a whole lot closer than the score really shows. And I think there are some building blocks and some good things to look at in the near future for Badger football. Now, the best they could do is a 5-7 season, and if there's not enough 6-win teams, they still might make a bowl game, but that's not guaranteed, and that's unlikely as some of the newer FCS up to FBS teams have won 6 games. So like Missouri State is bowl eligible right now, so they'll get the spot ahead of a 5-7 Wisconsin team with a high APR rating. And who's to say the Badgers would even accept that invite? Last year they did not accept the 5-7 invite. They turned it down, even though they had one of the highest APR ratings for a 5-7 team. I think the future of Wisconsin football looks positive. I think you look at the first half of the Wisconsin versus Indiana game. My Indiana friends were sweating it out, and the Badgers kept it close. The defense looks fantastic once again. I know they ended up giving 31 points when all is said and done, but to allow 10 points to one of the best offenses in the Big Ten, I think that's an accomplishment you could hang your hat on. And while it's a 4-quarter game, I think with where we are with this team, with the amount of freshmen and sophomores and the rising injury list going on for this team, you take the positives where you can take the positives. I know that's not what Badger fans really want to hear, but I think you got Posa, you got Catalano, Allegro is back for the first time in a few weeks since I believe the Ohio State game, and this defensive pass rush made Indiana's offensive line look really weak. And yes, they had the help of the wind as it was blowing 15 to 20 miles per hour, which really prohibited some of the passing game. Mendoza still found a way to make some deep shots, but for the most part, this Badger pass rush got to Mendoza the way no one really has this season. And I think that's something you look at how young that unit at the defensive front and the linebacking core is. And that's something that you could get excited for if you're a Badger fan going into next season. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, I thought the offense was super creative in the first half. As the game went on in the first half, they let Carter Smith do more and more. But in the second half, that really disappeared. You had the beautiful call on 4th and 1 where Carter Smith found Lance Mason for a 45-yard passing touchdown to tie the game at 7. And I remember standing up and saying, okay, we might have a ball game on our hands. I thought originally after they missed the field goal on their first drive that this game was going to turn into a blowout. But that wasn't really the case until the second half. And you could see Coach Sig getting nervous on the sidelines in all his interviews he did throughout the game, as Wisconsin pushed Indiana to places that not many people really thought the Badgers were going to push them to. Wisconsin entered the game as 30.5-point underdogs. They closed around 29.5-point underdogs. From what I saw, though, I don't sports gamble, so I don't really know the full facts of that, but it's just what I saw through some things. To keep this a game through the first half, when many thought this would be a Indiana plays their starters in the first half, and then they pull them in the second half, and they get to rest and go into their bye week after playing 6 straight weeks to prepare for their Purdue game and to basically go play in the Big Ten championship game in an almost home game. The Badgers pushed them, and you saw the team get a little nervous, and you saw the Badgers team fight, and it was exciting. Gideon Atuka looked really good once again when he got running downhill. There was a scary injury with him where he got taken off in a stretcher, and that's really when the air got deflated out of the offensive side of the ball. Carter Smith, for the most part, I feel really good about in his first start as a true freshman, playing on the road against the number 2 team in the nation that has dominated almost everybody they've played for the most part this season. I thought Smith played well. Yes, he had the fumble, and yes, he had the interception, but that interception was a late interception where he was trying to force it down the field, trying to make a play when throwing it against the wind, and it came back and backfired. But at the same time, I like the arm he's got, and I'm was almost more annoyed that the Badgers got away from the passing game in the second half rather than leaning on Carter Smith throughout the game, because when he had the opportunity to throw, I thought he looked pretty decent. There were a few drops. Are we leading the nation in drop passes? Because it feels that way. If not us, it might be Clemson. But I think there's some growing pains that we're going to go through, but I think you got to let Carter Smith just sling it around the field, see what he could do. I mean, we're not going to a bowl game now. You got Illinois and Minnesota to close out the season. I think this offense is a completely different offense with Carter Smith under center. I know you don't want to destroy his confidence by pushing too much on him too early, but at the same time, the kid is an Energizer bunny, and anytime you just let him take control of the offense, I think he's shown that he's got the potential. And I'm fine as a Badger fan. Now, y'all might disagree with me. I'm fine if you choose to not bring in a portal quarterback and you give Carter Smith the reins come next season and really build him up over the next few weeks and into next season, and not have to worry about bringing in a guy who has to learn the new offense and has to do this or that. I think Carter Smith's the future. I really do. Now, a lot of people are talking trash about his stat line. He only had 98 passing yards. But if you watch that game, when they let him throw the ball, when he got out on the outside and threw on the run, he looked good. There was the one pass where he missed, I think it was Dupree, on a wheel route that was almost a touchdown. But then there was the Mason touchdown. And I think the more he gets more comfortable in this offense, the more you could open up the playbook and the more excitement there will be around this offense. And I think there's the building blocks for the future. I mean, this running back room, you return most of the talent if they don't transfer. The wide receiver room, Eugene Hilton has looked fantastic as a true freshman given the opportunity. There's building blocks. There's positives to take away. Has the season gone the way Badger fans have wanted it to go? No. But at the same time, you look at the schedule. You have Oregon, you have Alabama, you have Ohio State, you have Michigan, and you have Indiana. 5 possible college football playoff teams you played, and a majority of those teams you played on the road. You played at Alabama, you played at Oregon, you played at Michigan, and you played at Indiana. That's a brutal schedule and a brutal pull this year. And yes, you get blown out at home by Iowa. That can't happen again next year. And you need to beat Minnesota this year. But really the only loss on the schedule where you're going, what the hell happened there, is the Maryland game in September. But you go look at Mike Locksley's record at Maryland in September, and they're basically undefeated in the month of September. So you almost had a bad scheduling pull there. They shouldn't have lost the game. They should not have gotten blown out at home at that game. But at the same time, you win that game, you might still finish 6-6. That's really the only game I could say, what are we doing? How did we lose that game this season? Because, I mean, Iowa's still in the hunt for the college football playoffs as well. That's 6 teams in the hunt that you played, and 5 of which are probably going to make the college football playoffs on your schedule, and that's a brutal schedule. Illinois and Minnesota are winnable games. I think if you continue to build with Carter Smith, hopefully Atuka comes back healthy. Hopefully Dupree gets healthier as well. This running back room is concerning with the injuries stacking up. Hopefully guys can get healthy. And you could close out the season on a strong note. I'd be happy with where we were sitting a few weeks ago if you close out the season 5-7. And you get the axe back. Then you have the confidence going into next year. You have a much more manageable schedule next year as of now with the way it looks on paper. And you have a quarterback in the system that I believe you could trust. Am I happy with where the football team is with Luke Fickell as head coach? No, I was calling for him to get fired. But now that he's not getting fired, with where this program is, with the buy-in by this team, with Fickell seeing can't wear the team vest anymore, and the young building blocks we have, if we could retain the talent, I think there's a lot of excitement around the Badger football program. I think you need to upgrade the offensive line going into next year, and you need to upgrade the secondary. Those are the 2 big points. Those are the 2 big weak points for this Badger team. And maybe you look into some wide receiver help. But I think you have the talent on the roster if it chooses to stay. I could find a lot of success. And I would not be surprised if the Badgers end up being the surprise team come next year. What do you think? How do you feel about the Indiana 31-7 loss by the Badgers? Is Carter Smith the future? do you think things start to turn around next year? And how do you think the Badgers finish out the season? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.